What's up and welcome to a Disorderly Quickie. This is your host, Nick Risner. You can find me on Twitter at Nick Risner, NickRizner. Just wanted to do a little intro to explain who this is, what we're doing. So Are You Garbage is a show that I've become obsessed with over the past couple months maybe, and it's been around since February, but I just discovered it and I've just been listening to it nonstop. So I reached out to Kevin Ryan. I wanted to have him on, talk a little bit about how the show got started, current state of the podcast, what the future looks like. This is basically just a selfish one for me. I wanted to interview the host of this podcast I've been listening to a lot. So without further ado, we'll go to it right now. Here is the co-founder and one of the hosts of Are You Garbage, Kevin Ryan. Kippy, enjoy.
Hey, what's up, buddy? How are you?
I'm doing well. So yeah, we'll just jump right in. I appreciate the time. And honestly, the reason I wanted to have you on is just because I've become such a huge fan of Are You Garbage. I basically just want to tell people about it. I love this show. I mean, it's literally shaped my vernacular. Like, I find myself using Are You Garbage lingo in my day-to-day life now. I think it's annoying the people around me. I can't really tell. But yeah, it's just like taking over my life, this show.
Well, I mean, first of all, I'm sorry, but also I love to hear it, so I'm not too upset. Yeah, man, I appreciate that. It's kind of surreal how quick and it's taken off, and it's super cool the amount of people that dig the show, not just like they like it. It's like, you know what I mean? It's really like you said, it's infiltrating people's lives where people are like, I can't stop looking at garbage things. I can't stop saying, clean living or daddy-o or something. It's all new for us, but it's really cool.
And it's exactly that too, where it's like, I find myself seeing things through the lens of, garbage versus class. Like I'll do something I've been doing my whole life and I'll be like, oh shit, this is garbage. Like I see that now. I'm garbage. Like you start to it's just like this weird, I judge other people, I feel like now. It's crazy. But yeah, I mean, the show is fairly new, right? Just started this year?
Yeah, it started right before quarantine. I think we recorded like three, maybe 4 episodes in a studio. So yeah, I think we launched the very beginning of February. So it's a little less than a year. And then the quarantine hit and we were like, what do we didn't know what to do. We were like, shit, we just launched this. We were trying to get the show off the ground type thing. And then, we hit quarantine. I was like, I don't know what the hell we're going to do. You know what I mean? Like, do we just even keep doing it? Like, do we just stop and wait? Who knows? Right. So, but we just we doubled down on it. And it was actually kind of a blessing in disguise because all of our, bigger comedy friends were all sitting at home with nothing to do. So we were like, let's just lean on, our more famous friends.
Yeah, sure. And then also you have the perspective of, you have to go with people who are local. So, you can only get certain people. Now you can reach out. You have the excuse too, where it's over Zoom or whatever. So everything is right now.
Of course,
so it doesn't stand out as like a lower quality product or anything. Yeah, it kind of works out in your favor in a weird way.
Yeah, so it did. So it was like, and it's also like the people we were having, we were, in the comedy world, the Mark Normans, the Joe List, the Andrew Schultz, the Shane Gillis, it's like, we're all friends with, you know what I mean? But right. I'm like, it would have taken us 2 years to get everybody in studio to find a time. Because everybody's if it was open, everybody's still traveling and flying and doing the road and, shooting stuff. So it's like, we just got lucky that all of our comedian friends were sitting around, so it worked out.
Yeah, and it's funny because I first got into it. I think I mentioned this when I reached out to you through Barstool, because I just grew up in New England, or just Barstool fan basically. I think it was the Kate episode that was the one that the first one I listened to, first one that I recommend to people and whatever. But I would have guessed it had been around a lot longer because it seemed like it was such a polished product already. Just like the looseness of it, the fact that you guys had this fan base that was submitting a lot of questions. It has the feel of a show that's been around for years. So the fact that it just started in February, I mean, you kind of touched on it as well. This thing blew up fast.
It did. It moved quick, and I think it's just like how genuine me and Foley are together. Like
right.
We've been best friends for like a decade at this point. You know what I mean? And it's so funny because we've had other projects and stuff that we did and other podcasts, and they were all to limited varying successes or whatever. And this was a game like we would play this on the road, like driving home from a show in the middle of Pennsylvania or something, like at 2 a.m. We would just be like, yo, did your mom ever do this? Or the first thing it started was with milk for dinner. He was like, when you go home and you just have like a big glass of milk with dinner. I'm like, you what? I'm like, those kids, they were the weirdest kids, so it started there. And then we just started picking apart each other's lives and laughing at it. So it was very genuine. So we've been playing it for years, you know what I mean? Like, just not really recording it and so structured, but it's been a thing. We've been shitting on each other's, upbringings for years. So it's kind of just now everybody else is, falling in love with it as well.
Yeah. Cause I think it really is a truly original concept. I think I did just see Tim Dillon, tweet about it, which is obviously a great plug for you guys, but then it's hard to find. I mean, I understand the irony of me saying this on a podcast, but there's just so many podcasts out there, so it's like a saturated market. So I come up with a truly original concept in 2021 or 2020, I guess, is crazy. So the fact that it has legs and I was going to ask if there's an origin story, but I love that that's how it started, as you two just kind of busting each other's balls on the road.
Yeah. It would be like, and then we'd be driving, I'd be in his neighborhood. I'm like, you live in a neighborhood with this store or what, it's just that, like, we just always, kind of made fun of each other in that sense. So we would just we both had the idea like the same week too. I was like, I want to do something with Are You Garbage? And he's like, I think I want to start a new podcast. And I was like, that's the show. We literally we had the idea at the same, like within 2 days of each other,
Yeah, that's perfect.
So it really worked out. And the big, a lot of comedians, a lot of bigger comedians are really enjoying the show, which is cool. So they're really, like you said, Tim just tweeted. Tim hasn't even done the show, and we're not even that close with him. We had some overlap in New York, and, been on some of the same shows, but we're not friends with them, which I think talks to how cool the show is. Because he did that on his own volition. You know what I mean? He was just like, yo, I love this show.
It's one thing if he was promoting his own episode, but the fact that he was just like, I haven't even been on, but everyone needs to pay attention to this show that's a really huge plug, I feel like, because that's not, people everyone's plugging the shows they're a guest on and whatever. So I feel like that speaks volumes to the show more than it would if he was just, sharing his own episode.
Yeah, and I think too, me and Foley have a very good rhythm together because we're just trying, the idea, we try to say never, we're trying to make each other laugh, you know what I mean? Whether the guest laughs or not, I know what, me and Foley are just trying to make each other laugh ultimately at the end of the day. And we're really good at, we know each other's buttons. So we're if we just stay there, if people are finding it funny, let's just continue to make each other laugh. And I think, like I said, we've been doing that, we have such a rapport and a rhythm together because we've been hanging out for 10 years. So we just had Giannis Papas on and he came on and we didn't really know him that well either, to be honest with you, just in passing and stuff like that. And, he came on and it's I think comics see us working together and they're like, oh shit, this is a high pace. You know what I mean? This isn't just we're going to sit down and have a conversation, it's, once it starts, it gets moving pretty quickly, and then everybody's firing. So I think bigger comics that come on are like, oh fuck, these guys are funny, and this is a lot of fun,
Do you have a preference, by the way, between because obviously some of these guys you've known forever and that shows through. So you have this, right? But then you also have someone like Giannis Papas you just mentioned where it's new and you're literally trying to figure out if they're you're finding out through these questions if they're garbage as opposed to maybe kind of already knowing. Do you have a preference? What do you think makes for a better episode?
It depends. It really depends. They're both great for their own things, we had our buddy Ian Fidance on who we just know everything about and, but it's also you hear news stories too that you never expected,
yeah.
Which is cool. I think a lot of comics goes onto a show. It's they have their their 10 stories of oh, this is the one time I fell and broke my leg. This is the one time I got booed off stage or whatever, and this brings up stories and memories that they haven't thought about in 15, 20, 30 years. So you're getting these genuine moments from everybody it's not a story they've told 50 times. They're oh shit, you're hearing it in real time as they're remembering it.
Well, you can tell when a question. A lot of those. Go ahead, sorry.
No, so it creates a lot of those for old friends. I hear shit that I've never even expected to hear, from people that I've known for a decade. And then it's cool. It's cool just having new stuff unfold for us. You know what I mean? When Giannis. It's it was fun and I didn't know if he was going to be trash or not. And then he told us that he burns all the trash in his living room or something. And that's mind blowing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's you get moments like that. So they're both good for their own, for their own reasons.
Well, that one specifically too. This is an example of this, but it happens throughout the show. There's always these questions that sort of hit where there'll be like a pause and you realize the person's in their head that they're like reevaluating their entire lives. So for that one where he was,
of course,
he was burning the trash in his living room, like there was a genuine moment where he's like, oh my God, yeah, that is trash. I didn't even like think about it. And those are the kind of sweet little micro moments within the episodes.
Yeah. It's cool. That's what we found when we were doing it via Zoom back in the day. Because right now we're just really focused on doing in-studio stuff. And like we would end the call, and then like me and Foley, like I would call Foley on the phone and be like, "Did you see it?" Like, but we call it like the moment where it clicks because like they go, "Oh shit," and like you see it in their eyes, like their eye twinkles, and they go, "Holy sh!" And like I'll call him, I'm like, "Did you see that?" He goes, "It was right when you asked, whatever or something." So yeah, those moments are really cool, and they really resonate with a lot of people, and we're finding out like a lot of people have the same trashy upbringing, regardless of the culture, of race, of income, of, the geography. It's like, it's resonating with so many people, which is really cool.
Yeah, so that's what it is. It's like as I'm listening, I'm reliving my own sort of like childhood stuff. It plays on the whole 90s nostalgia. Like it's perfect for all that. Obviously, you guys are plugged into the comedy podcast world. You've had a lot of great guests on. I mentioned Kate. I think that's usually the one I suggest to her. If I'm suggesting it to somebody, I'm like, oh, check out this episode. Jay Larson, Dan Soder, Greg Fitzsimmons.
They're all really good, fun ones. Yeah.
So I'm wondering, do you have like if someone's asking you like, oh, like which one should I start on? Do you have a suggestion for people?
That's tough. It's tough. I actually just did this for somebody who, and it depends. If people are comedy fans, I'll go that way. It depends. I'm like, hey, because we have a lot of the bigger comedy guys that like other comedians on. So it's like if some people like Andrew Schultz, I'll be like, oh well, then I'm like check him out. Or if people like, oh, I listen to Tuesdays the Stories with Mark Norman and Joe List. I'm like, well, we've had them both. You know what I mean? Like. So, like, I'll try to navigate a little. I mean, just going in fresh. I don't know, man. We've done so many of them as well.
And I almost don't think it matters because, like I said, I started with one and then just started backdating and kind of. I think I started with Kate and then just listen to that episode from the previous week and then just started going backwards like that while I was waiting for new episodes. And I mean. They're all pretty much the same level. Yeah,
there wasn't. I don't think we have ever had any really bad. Also, there's some guests that are just slower and more, chiller. And when we have like our buddy Ian on or something, like we fire. It's like I miss it's like our heads hurt afterwards. We all have to like go outside because you're like hyper focused trying to make jokes every 2 seconds for an hour. But then you have like someone else on that's just slow. It's just different. So it really depends, but. I like to think that they're all good, yeah.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And then moving forward then, if you could have, like, who is the Are You Garbage dream guest? If you can get an automatic guest from one person, anyone in the world, who are you going with? Because I feel like the perfect guest for the show is more than just, like, the biggest name you can find because, like we've been talking about, you got to find someone who can sling it and play along and sort of make the show fun,
Yeah, which, like, I know... from our buddy Andrew Schultz. He's like, you got to make a 10-minute version and celebrities that want to do it. Like, he was like really harping on us to do that.
Yeah.
And when it is a good idea, and it's like, it's also just like we're a 3-man team, you know what I mean? It's me, Foley, and our producer, Toby. And it's like, there's a lot of, we don't have a lot of resources of time to like, just re-edit or like, you know what I mean? Like kind of, that takes a lot of time and stuff like that. So like, but I'm also against like a famous person doing it, I think, because like, Tom Cruise doesn't want me to make fun of him. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right.
Like, holy shit, I don't think celebrities, specifically actors, have terrible self-awareness and senses of humor. So, I don't know. I think Bert Kreischer would be really good. Like, the show's kind of built for him. The show's kind of built for Tim Dillon as well. And, also, I'd like to have a friend of ours. We just haven't had him on yet. We just haven't been able to get the schedule. Is Big Jay Okerson.
Oh yeah. Yeah, because you had Soder on a few times. So that would make sense that he would be in the mix.
Yeah, we've just been going back and forth. They have, he's just super busy with their own recording schedule and stuff like that. So, but like those guys are very opinionated on this kind of stuff. You know what I mean? And like those make for the best episodes where you kind of argue. Like Leftovers was a big thing for a little while of like, do you take leftovers home from a restaurant? And like people get upset, like in a fun way, you know what I mean? In a fun comedy way. Like, but like you start arguing, like, oh, you're trash. What are you, stupid? You know.
I got an argument with my girlfriend about that question after hearing you.
Did
you guys,
really?
yes, not an argument, but like I was explaining how I could see that being trash, and she's like, "What are you talking about? How's that trash?" And it became like a whole thing.
Yeah.
But yeah. So yep.
Well, yeah. So it's like stuff like that, and I think those three guys, like Tim for sure, and Tim's going to do the show. Bert Kreischer, and like Tom Segura and those guys, they're very opinionated about this kind of stuff. So,
sure.
Like they come in, and if you can get the guest charged up, it's always fun. So like, those are the guys that we're waiting to get,
Yeah, and then just to touch on the behind-the-scenes thing quickly, I know you guys were with Gas Digital for a little bit, then you two split up. Was that your decision, their decision, a mutual thing? Like, what sort of happened with all that?
It was our decision, ultimately. I have nothing but love for those guys. Yeah. Lewis is a fucking awesome guy. It's like Lewis is an awesome dude and gives a lot of comedians a lot of money every month. Like he gives more money he puts more money in comedians' pockets than anybody. So he's fantastic. It was just like a growth thing. Like we looked at him and like he built the Gas Digital world, right? Like here's a guy, and also look at like Tim Dillon. Tim built a Tim Dillon universe, and the History Hyenas and Andrew Schultz. Like they all have their own world that they operate in, And we were in Lewis, like after I saw what Lewis built, I'm like, oh, this is what I want. You know what I mean? Like I want the Are You Garbage studio, and I want the, like I want it to be bigger than just a show type thing. Like I want us to, kind of have our branded image, like the studio now we have is like very singular. No one else has that type thing. So it was very that, and he was cool about it. And we just went on and did his show actually last week, as like a truce, because some of the fans were, and still are upset with us for because we signed with him, we were with him for 3 months, and it kind of looked like we used them a little bit, like we just came on, took their fans and left, which a lot of people were like shitting on us for, but it was nothing like that at all. It was very just like, this is what we were thinking. I'm like, fuck, this is what we want to do, ultimately. And I got the opportunity to get us, through a friend, we got a studio space. So I was like, let's just do it now and, kind of bet on yourself,
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it makes sense. And obviously the move from Gas Digital, or the move away from it rather, led to the birth of this Patreon now, just shy of 600 patrons. Congrats on that. Great prize waiting for the patrons, by the way, when you hit 600, a little MTV Cribs tour of your childhood home. How does your family feel about this whole thing? Are they good sports about it, or are they defensive about like, hey, stop calling us trash?
I haven't fully... I haven't broke it to my mom that I'm going to have to come in and film and shit all over her house yet. So I was thinking of how I'm going to do that today. But yeah, they're super cool with it. It's like, we're still, by no means, millionaire. Like we're still struggling and stuff, it's just like we're starting to take off, but like we struggled for a decade, you know what I mean? So it's like our families are just happy that it's like,
yeah, something caught on, right?
So it's finally working out and stuff like that. But yeah, no, she gets it. I mean, like she grew up super poor. She was one of 9 in I think a 2-bedroom house for like 19 years or 18 years or something like that. Like she gets it. So it's like, and it's like funny, and she's like, it's like kind of like a thing. She's like, oh, is this garbage? Is this garbage type thing? It's fine. I mean, she by no means thinks she's super classy, so it's an easy one to get by with.
Yeah, my mom's actually 1 of 9 too, so that's yet another relatable thing. Yeah, big Irish family. But yeah,
I think it's hard to not be trashy from an Irish family of 9.
It's funny too because it's all relative. So there's a comparison thing where she will point to a slightly trashier neighborhood on our road that we grew up on or whatever. She's like, well, we don't want to be like those people, and it's like, hold on, it's the exact same thing. Right? Yeah. We're talking about like we're really splitting hairs here.
Everybody makes up these invisible. That's what we're finding out about the show. Is everybody makes up these invisible lines in their head of what is and what isn't trashy, and they've never really thought about it. They've just grown up going like, oh yeah, it's trashy to drink milk with dinner, or it's whatever, because their parents drew this weird line, and they're like, this is what we do, this is what we don't do.
Yeah.
And that's what's, people, and then growing up, you never think about it. You just go, oh yeah, I drink milk with dinner, or we look down on, this neighborhood or whatever it is. And then you're like, why the hell were we doing that the whole time,
Yeah, exactly. Is there an Are You Garbage card game in the works? I vaguely remember something about that.
There is. Yeah, it's in production. We had a little production snafu. They should be ready soon, but we're just doing like a limited run just to see kind of how it goes.
Yeah.
It's like 52 of like our favorite questions and some new ones that we haven't asked yet and stuff like that. So
cool,
it should be out soon. Yeah, hopefully in a few weeks.
Cool. Well, that's all I have for you. Short and sweet. Thanks again for the time. I think the show is amazing, and again, it's so fun to listen and have it just bring up all these memories in my own head about my own childhood, and I feel like that's why people are gravitating to it, like you said. But that's it. So the floor is yours if you have anything you want to plug.
Yes, guys, just please check out the show at Are You Garbage, wherever you get podcasts. We have the full videos available on full HD available on YouTube there as well. We do 2 episodes every week. We have a Patreon. You can support if you'd like. You get bonus content. And I'm at Kevin Ryan Comedy on all social media.
All right, cool. Thanks, man.
All right, thanks, buddy. I appreciate it, man.